Hey bitches, welcome to my channel. My name is Willow, and today I'm going to be discussing Encanto, also known as Generational Trauma the Musical. I was very hesitant to watch the movie Encanto because I have this weird mentality where I don't want to enjoy everything that everybody else likes, but I kept seeing numerous TikToks all over TikTok using all the songs from Encanto, and so I figured all the songs are already stuck in my head, I might as well just watch the fucking movie. I don't have Disney Plus, so I decided to buy it off of YouTube solely so I could watch it, and quite frankly, I absolutely loved it. I've watched it numerous times now. I sort of love how it just showcases all the generational trauma that Abuela put her family through. And it's something I think a lot of families can relate to. So today I wanted to talk about all the trauma that all of the characters in Encanto endured thanks to Abuela. Now I just wanted to say, I know a lot of people get really mad about Abuela slander, and I'm glad she had her little redemption arc at the end of the movie. I'm glad she apologized after 50 years of not apologizing. I know that Abuela went through her own trauma. Her trauma is very valid. I don't think Abuela is the villain. I think she's a victim of her own trauma who pushed her trauma onto her kids and grandkids, and now they're a fucked up family full of trauma. And I'm gonna unpack all of it today. So in this movie, we meet the family of the amazing Madrigals. Everyone is magical and fantastical and was given a gift by this magical candle. And they live in a magical house, their casita. Oldest Madrigal, who started the family trauma, was Abuela. Her name is Alma. She was married to this guy named Pedro. Shortly after Abuela's 3 children were born, Pedro was killed by conquerors who also attempted to take over their whole village. She and her children survived though, and several of the village people, and Abuela discovered an encanto, an enchantment that was this little candle, and the candle gave her a home and protection from the outside world. And for some reason, the encanto also decided to give her 3 children and her children's children magical gifts when they turned 5 years old to help benefit the village. After this, she decided to make this little picture-perfect image of herself and her family to benefit the village, and decided that they were all going to use their gifts to benefit the village and put good use to the encanto that they were given. Honestly, props to Abuela for wanting to help the village with her gift. I'm not gonna lie, if I got a magical candle, I would be extremely selfish with it. You piss me off? Okay, I'm not gonna help you with my super cool magical gift. Sorry about it. I wouldn't want to help the town as much as Abuela wanted to help the town. Let's talk about Abuela's children. The 3 who got the gifts. She has Pepa, who can control the weather, Bruno, who can see visions, and Julieta, who can heal people through the power of food. We're also introduced to Pepa and Julieta's husbands, who for a brief second made every gay person think that there was going to be a gay couple in Encanto. But pretty soon all of our hopes of that shattered like the casita. Pepa married a man named Felix, and together they had Dolores, Camilo, and Antonio. Dolores had incredible hearing and she could hear anything. Camilo had the power to shapeshift, and Antonio got his gift towards the beginning of the movie, and he had the power to communicate with animals and understand them. Julieta married this guy named Agustin, had Luisa, who had super strength, Isabella, who made flowers and later on any sort of plants grow, and Mirabel, who was not given a gift. Bruno didn't have a wife or kids because he was shunned aside by the rest of his family. Now, Pepa has the power of weather control, but because of this, she is constantly forced to regulate her own emotions, or else bad weather will negatively affect literally everyone else in town. She's expected to always be in good spirits, because if she's not, it will quite literally rain on everyone else's parade. So whenever she's obsessed or stressed, she is just literally expected to not be. And Abuela's always like, Pepa, you're thundering! Pepa is 50, and she would have gotten her powers when she was 5. So that's 45 years she had this power of weather control and was just expected to regulate and maintain her own emotions for the sake of everyone around her. It's hard enough as an adult, but I can picture her as like a little 5 or 6-year-old new to her gift, and she's upset, just feeling out her emotions, having a tantrum like children do, and Abuela's angry at her because she's creating weather around them that nobody else likes. And this little fucking child is just expected to be like, clear skies, and calm herself down because the rest of the village isn't going to like her reign. She would have eventually just associated her emotions in general as something negative and wrong, and probably had a lot of repressed emotions stuck inside of her for a long ass time. She just sort of grew up with the knowledge that it wasn't okay to be sad or upset or angry. She wasn't allowed to make hurricanes or thunderstorms or snow, anything that was seen as negative. She could only make rainbows and sunshine, things that are super happy and jolly. Julieta heals people with the power of food. She's expected to just fix everyone else's problems as they occur. Although I think her power does have some limitations because Mirabel has glasses and she can't fix her eyesight, and she was unable to heal the trauma inflicted by the whole family by Abuela. Also, is arepas con queso the only food she can make to heal people? We don't see a lot of her powers in action, but we know that Abuela is really big on helping people, and we can see her handing out her food to everyone in town as they just line up and expect her to fix their problems. So every day, essentially, she has to get up, cook a big batch of food, and then bring it to the townspeople to fix their problems. It must be an emotionally draining gift, just being expected to do all of this on behalf of other people. And I can only imagine days where Julieta herself wasn't feeling very good and she was still expected to just cook and make it better for everybody else. We know she was pregnant 3 times with her 3 children. Pregnancy typically comes with a lot of discomfort, and she was probably expected to still make her arepas during that time to fix everybody else. I don't know if it would work on her if she could just eat one and then feel magically better, but it still sucks that she was just expected to give her all for everybody else. Now let's talk about Bruno. He was literally shunned by the family because his gift was no longer seen as something beneficial or happy. His gift was having prophecies or visions, and he could predict things that were going to happen, and people didn't like that. The gift would oftentimes upset people, which we saw in action in We Don't Talk About Bruno. Someone complained that their fish died because Bruno said so, and they grew a gut because Bruno said so, and they were balding because Bruno said so. Try Bosley hair growing treatment. I don't know what to tell you. Don't blame Bruno for your bald head. Even his own sister, Pepa, had resentment towards him because she believed he ruined her wedding day by creating a hurricane, which was really just Pepa feeling her own emotions, and Bruno saw that. But of course, none of them realized that at the time and were like, Bruno caused this huge disaster. Bruno even expressed that later on. He's like, I can't do visions without people thinking I'm causing these negative things to happen. So when he was asked to look into the future after Mirabel didn't get a gift and he saw her and the cracks in the casita, he was just too scared to go to Abuela and tell her what he saw because he knew that he would be blamed for this. And I think people just had a habit of misinterpreting his prophecies and seeing them as something negative even when they could be positive. Even Mirabel's vision had 2 different versions of it, one with the cracks, one without the cracks, and she eventually did fix the casita, but people only saw the negative in what he created. Dolores said that he told her the man of her dreams would be just out of reach, betrothed to another, and lo and behold, she got with Mariano at the end of the movie, and he was betrothed to Isabella. And Isabella sang about the life of her dreams would be promised and someday be hers, which ended up being getting to be herself and growing other things other than perfect flowers. Technically, their visions did come true. They just took what they heard and made it into what they wanted to make it into, and if something went wrong, they blamed the person who saw the vision instead of just being like, this is my life. And people had to actively seek out Bruno to get visions. He had to go through this whole routine in his vision cave to see things. So people actively sought him out to see things and then got mad at what they saw. The generational trauma continues with Pepa and Julieta's kids. Pepa's oldest is Dolores, who can literally hear anything. So she's just expected to hear everybody else's problems, whether she wants to or not. It also seems to be a huge issue for her because in several scenes we can see her covering her ears because the things around her are too loud. And she literally just can't not hear things. I can't even imagine how stressful it is to have to hear everything without getting breaks. And then she's forced to not only deal with her own problems, but the problems of the people around her. Like when she had to hear Luis's eye twitching all night, she just had to live with the knowledge that she knows something's wrong with somebody else and she has to deal with what she hears. Camilo is just expected to shapeshift and turn into anybody that everybody else wants him to be except himself. He turned himself into a mother so she could get some sleep while he watched the baby. He turns himself into other versions of people when they need an exact height, and he just uses it to entertain people and make them happy by greeting them with themselves, which apparently is hilarious. So essentially, he's supposed to just walk around town all day and transform into whatever everybody else needs him to be. And just be that. I can't imagine the amount of people who use him to cope with like the loss of somebody or confront somebody that they're too scared to actually confront. So they're like, yo, Camille, can you pretend to be this person so I can talk to them? Or can you be this person? I really, really, really want to see their face again. And all of the things he's just expected to hear out of that and just carry around with him because he's somebody else and not himself. And in general, he's kind of a goofy guy, so I can imagine him being someone else as a joke, and then they think that it's that person, like when Mirabel thought it was Dolores. And I can't imagine all the things people have said to him when he wasn't himself, and then he was just expected to go with those because it'd be kind of awkward to reveal himself after and be like, actually, I'm Camille. Antonio is new to his gift, talking to animals, so we don't really get to see how much it negatively impacts him, but we do see Abuela instantly being like, we gotta find a way for this gift to positively impact the village.
I'm sure today we'll find a way to put your blessings to good use.
But he did have to go through the stress of knowing that he was expected to be the next successful one after Mirabel, and the fear of what would happen if he didn't get a gift that night. For his 5 years of life, he had to live with Mirabel and see how her life was because she didn't get a gift, and live with the fear that that could be him if he didn't get a gift, and all these expectations to have a perfect gift receiving ceremony. And then the stress, he obviously got pretty close with Mirabel. He had to deal with the stress of hurting Mirabel if he did get his gift too, which is something a little 5-year-old should not have to deal with. The pressures and stress from his family all around him. He was truly torn. He didn't want a gift in the sense that he didn't want to upset Mirabel, but he definitely didn't want to upset Abuela and the rest of his family by not giving a gift. And being the next one after Mirabel to have a gift must have been incredibly stressful for him because he knew it had to be big or else he'd be in big, big, big trouble. Then we get to Julietta's daughter, Isabella. Isabella is expected to be the perfect golden child and do no wrong. She looks very similar to Abuela, and because of that, Abuela obviously favoritizes her and expects her to be the one to carry on the Madrigal family, marry Mariano, have 5 children, and have all those 5 children have super awesome gifts as well. Not even taking into consideration that Isabella doesn't want any of this, but her whole life she's pretended that she does because she doesn't want to disappoint the family. I also noticed that in the photos on their wall after they get their gifts, Abuela has both hands on the candle for everybody except Isabella. She has her arm on Isabella's shoulder because even from 5 years old, Isabella was just expected to be the perfect child. That is a lot of stress, just going on not doing anything you want to do because you have to be what your family wants you to be, and being expected to be the one to just carry on the family legacy, have 5 children with some creepy guy you don't even really like. I don't know, some creepy guy who walks like an idiot when he's coming up to your house. She's just expected to marry him and have 5 children. Cool. No pressure there. And then we have Luisa, the strong one, who's literally expected to carry anything and everything, fix anything and everything that's broken. And honestly, the village pisses me off. They expect too much of her. Okay, you want her to grab a couple of donkeys? Fine. Your tower's leaning. Obviously, nobody else can fix that except Luisa. It's an easy push for her. That's fine. But someone asked her to reroute the fucking river.
Lisa, can you reroute the river?
Will do.
Reroute the river? Why? For what purpose? If you didn't have this person with super strength, you wouldn't need the river to be rerouted. It was such a simple line, and it was probably just supposed to be funny, but why did someone ask her to do that? Just because she's strong? Just because they want to see what she can do? This girl is under immense pressure to just do everything the village needs of her, and the family needs of her. She's just expected to be strong and never have problems. We can see how incredibly stressed she is when she thinks the magic is dying, and she felt weak briefly when there was cracks in the casita. She's so stressed that she was up all night with a twitching eye, and then she feels extremely bad after she talks to Mirabel about carrying too much, that she goes to still continue to carry more and feels weak, and then blames herself and feels terrible about herself just because she wasn't able to do that.
What? Mirabel and I were having this little talk about me carrying too much, so I tried not to carry so much, but I realized it was putting me behind, and I knew I was gonna let everyone down, and I felt really bad, so I was grabbing all the donkeys, but then when I went to throw the donkeys in the barn, they were heavy.
And Abuela's disappointment is very prominent when that happens. And then she just has to watch her sister get blamed for it too. I do love how Luisa is portrayed with this sensitivity. Like, she's really strong, but she also has emotions. which is cool. I like how they made a character who actually feels things instead of just having her be like a stone cold bitch or completely strong. She is strong, but she also has emotions, which I think is a really good thing for her character. And then we have Mirabel, who wasn't even given a gift, but secretly I think her gift was just being able to deal with bullshit for a large amount of time, because I would have slapped everybody in that family. I would have blown out the candle years ago. And then they had the audacity to not include her in the family picture. I would have blown out the candle. Bye, Casita, I don't care. She desperately wanted to still try and be a part of the family, though. She hyped them up when talking to the town's children and tried not to mention the fact that she didn't have a gift, because she knew that looked bad and she knew that Abuela wasn't very happy about that, so she didn't want to make that clear. Instead, she talked about all the amazing things everybody else in her family could do. And she didn't want to force herself to sit on the sidelines, so she genuinely tried to be a part of the family and help them decorate, but it was Abuela who shut her down because she didn't have a gift, and she thought it was just best to keep Mirabel out of the way and essentially just for a night pretend she wasn't part of the family in a way.
So the best way for some of us to help is to step aside.
And then, when she did see the cracks in the casita, she was essentially gaslighted into believing that she made it up because she was jealous of Antonio because her gift ceremony didn't go well, so now she was mad at Antonio. Even though Mirabel knew the truth deep down, she was embarrassed in front of all of the people who came to support Antonio, and it made her look bad, all because Abuela just refused to admit that they might need a little help. Mirabel got the blame from several of her siblings because that's sort of what they believed. When she cared about her sister Luisa, she was expected to just not talk anymore because now Luisa's magic was getting weaker and that had to be Mirabel's fault, right? And she was blamed for the vision and the prophecy anyways, expected to stay away because she was the one who was pictured. Abuela was angry. I don't blame her for having a lot of resentment towards everybody else because they're essentially what she can't be. She's not strong like Luisa, and obviously it's hard for her to see how they're negatively suffering from that. I mean, she could see how Luisa was struggling with it, but she couldn't really see Isabella because Isabella had to put up this front that everything was perfect and fine, and she could never complain. But Isabella got mad at her, just like Abuela did, so I don't blame her for having a resentment towards her sister, as well as Abuela and everyone else in the family, because she wasn't given something, and instead of trying to make her feel special on her own without the magic, they essentially were just like, yeah, you don't have magic, so don't rain on our parade. Bye, Mirabel. And that was awful. All of them were expected to just give and never feel anything for themselves. And every time they did something that wasn't perfect or right, they were belittled and yelled at for it. I honestly think that in the vision, she hugged Isabella because Isabella was the one she sort of resented the most, it seemed like, because Isabella was the perfect one, and Mirabel was the one who was the least perfect by the standards of the family because she was the one who didn't get the gift. I think she had to have that epiphany and realize that even the perfect child wasn't perfect. And she and Isabella made up, but of course that upsetted Abuela because then Isabella was no longer perfect. And Abuela getting pissed off about that caused the cracks to continue and grow. Eventually the house just died down, and it had to take Abuela realizing, oh shit, my family hates me because I'm holding on too tight, to realize that, you know, the magic was them and not their literal magic. Glad all that trauma is out there in the open. But with that being said, I do think Encanto was a beautiful movie. It shows how Abuela did realize the problem was her and how she had these expectations that were far too high, and she was really expecting too much out of her kids, and that was causing their family to falter, and that was causing their family to break. Such an important movie, I feel like, for people who do deal with family shit, to just showcase the impact it truly has on people. And it's something I think a lot of people can relate to, and the music also slapped very much. So with that being said, that is the generational trauma the characters were forced to endure during Encanto. With that being said, peace out.